honestly, if they were to go off, these characters are kind of important characters. I can't really see how the show could have went on without them. I mean, you want to talk about, I mean, we're talking about, like, The Simpsons, like, 3 of their biggest antagonists.
Yeah. But anyways, we are digressing from our topic. So, basically, we want our fans to open up. We want our fans to tell us what they want us to hear. We love to talk, but honestly, sometimes we'd love to talk about things that maybe we wouldn't think about. So if you are listening, you have ideas for us, follow us on Twitter, send us messages, send us tweets.
Okay, and you know what? Before we go forward, again, I brought this up in the last episode. It had been suggested to us that because a lot of people kind of get tired out, of trying to listen to us for an hour. Hence the reason why our last episode was roughly 45 minutes.
Yeah, we've scaled it down.
Scaled it down a little bit, and this will actually probably be an even shorter episode than the last one. But it was suggested to us to kind of help, with fans listening, for them to give us input that perhaps we should go off and to bring up our Twitter accounts at the beginning of the show. So here we are, probably roughly about 15 minutes in.
15 minutes in.
15 minutes into the show. And so I'm just going to go off. I'll bring up the Twitter accounts now, and then we'll bring them up again at the end of the show. You can go off and follow me, That Mask Guy, at That Mask Guy. Captain Fizz here is at
Real CAPT Fizz, so Real Captain Fizz.
And of course, our show is at Fizz Mask Show. And again, you can find us on YouTube. I mean, well, yes,
you can find us on YouTube.
You can find us on YouTube. And
we are YouTubers.
Captain Fizz and Mask Guy podcast. So you can look us up that way. Again, almost on a daily basis on the Fizz Mask at Fizz Mask Show Twitter account. Shut up! You're just laughing at me here.
He's tongue-tied.
I think by now fans know I tend to get a little tongue-tied because my brain moves faster than my lips can.
Or your lips are moving faster than your brain can.
No, I think it's the other way around, where I try to go off and say stuff, but my mouth can't keep up with my brain. And that just tends to be the truth. But anyways, almost on a daily basis, on the show's Twitter account, we have a link for the next playlist for whatever our latest episode of the show is that we put on Facebook.
Now, if Captain Fizz remembers to post them properly, they'll be up accordingly.
And of course, we're always on Spreaker. That's uploaded almost immediately after we air an episode.
Takes a few minutes.
It takes a few minutes here and there.
About as slow as me.
Oh, I don't know if it's quite that slow.
Oh, shut up.
But anyways, you can also go off and email us at fizzandmaskshow@yahoo.com.
Yeah, we answer all emails.
We do.
And all Twitter messages and Twitter tweets and I'm a tweetaholic.
Yeah, tweetaholic. And it's kind of interesting. I didn't bring this up on the last episode, but we recently were added to some sort of Twitter group, Marvel Mentions.
Yes.
And
we're famous.
We're famous. It's actually kind of an interesting...
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And so despite the fact that I've been tweeting for a long time, I've never actually heard of groups, and I don't really know how you would even become part of one of these groups.
But obviously, we have become part of a group. We are now a Twitter group. So awesome. Thank you, Marvel Mentions group, for noticing us and bringing us in.
I think that's kind of interesting because by the looks of it, every time of course, this is at Fizz Mask Show that has been put on to this list. So every time we release a tweet with this account, it appears that it will show up in this group.
Yeah,
and I went off and I tried to actually count the number of different Twitter accounts that are in here. Not bringing up even the people who subscribe to this, but just the people that have been invited to join the group. and there's over 200. So at least, and that's when I lost count. So there could be like a lot more than that. So
I lost count at 1.
Well, it's because I haven't actually showed you this. I just told you about
I still
this
lost count
the
at
other
1.
day.
1. What was I counting?
But it was interesting because we were invited into this group by some guy named Loki. And that, I mean, that's not his actual Twitter handle. That's the name he uses. He calls himself Loki on Twitter.
So we got invited into Marvel Mentions by a villain.
Yes.
Epic.
That's absolutely epic.
Okay, that just made my week.
That just made the week.
Thank you, Marvel Mentions. I love villains.
And
The villain being a good guy.
well, I mean, the villains usually are the best characters.
Apparently. That's probably why we're so popular.
Yeah. And we won't go into this because it's a little off topic, but I will go off and I will post a video that Cracked After Hours did on YouTube, where they discuss why, the main characters in movies, they never really have any real catchphrases, especially in this genre, and how it's always the supporting characters who always seem to have the more juicier parts. But again, that just came to mind for some reason. I think partly because of the villain. Because I mean, if you look in Star Wars, what's a big line that Luke Skywalker says? Can you think of one honestly that it hasn't been repeated from someone else?
No.
Okay. But yeah, Darth Vader's like, I am your father, and you don't know the power of the dark side. And
True.
Yoda's, do or do not, there is no trying.
So, I'm going to put this out here. I'm going to make a challenge to our Twitter followers. If we get 10 people to follow our show and my page, and to send out a tweet saying they've watched us with the hashtag Captain Fizz Monkey, I will do a public monkey dance and have it taped and put on YouTube. 10 people with that tag.
And honestly, I think maybe you should actually go off and even tweet that.
I will tweet it so all the followers hear it. So that's 10 people following us with the hashtag Captain Fizz Monkey.
Captain Fizz Monkey.
I will start it off as soon as
And again, I mean, I will, knowing me and, how, I will admit, I don't know a ton about social media, but what little I do know, this will be all over Twitter. My wife, who apparently went off and started up a Twitter account just so she could go off and follow the show.
Not sure why, because we are insane.
It's funny because she doesn't even tweet anything, and she's already got probably more followers than you do.
Well, that's because I scare my followers. I scare them.
So I will go off and I will have to.
My monkey dance brings all the boys to the yard.
I think I'll have to hijack her phone and go off and try to spread the word a little bit. And
you realize you guys doing the hashtag doesn't count, right?
I know. The fact that I'm just going to go off and kind of
okay, good. This. It has to be 10 unique.
But speaking of this, I mean, videos, we're also, again, we're trying to, hire, or at least get a cameraman on board to go off and
because we're poor.
I don't know. We we're kind of like the dynamic duo, and we're sort of would like to become, the Three Musketeers.
Apparently. We like to be videotaped. I don't know how to take that. This has gone dark. This is not your ordinary dark side.
This is not your ordinary dark side.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of reminds me of something that I think was actually you in your real life posted on Facebook about Saruman talking to one of his
the orcs.
And I just thought that was
it's been posted all over Twitter. It's I don't know. I post the weirdest things that make the complete sense. And
yeah,
it's the best Star Trek picture ever.
Which doesn't actually have anything to do with Star Trek.
Exactly. That's why it's the best Star Trek picture
we
ever.
go off and we see Saruman talking to one of these orcs, and he says, find Potter and bring him to Narnia. The Death Star is ready for our war against the Time Lords. And
I am Groot.
yeah, the orc says, I am Groot. And I went off and if there was ever, a better explanation as to what we do on the show,
That is it.
That's it. I mean, it kind of covers almost everything. I mean, with the name of the Facebook group that this came from is Star Trek, and it's got Star Wars reference. It's got Star Wars reference, a Harry Potter reference,
Doctor Who.
So a lot of science fiction and fantasy references.
Yeah, it's the best picture ever.
It was quite.
Best Star Trek
couldn't stop
picture.
laughing when I went up and saw it.
Yeah. No, so that's pretty much us.
So
we are looking in the future to potentially make product that is available to our fans.
Yeah, and I think part of it, we'd like to see what people would be interested. So
Yes, we'd like some feedback on what you guys would like.
I do know that. I mean, at this point, I'm drinking my beverage of choice out of a Avengers cup.
And I am drinking mine out of a bottle.
And you're drinking yours out of a bottle. And I think at some point, it would, even if we don't actually sell them, it might be kind of interesting for us to have our own mugs
in our studio.
With the studio. I am not sure. I know that you had actually taken a picture of my mask and send it to someone.
Yes, we're trying to get a logo made.
And I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to continue using this mask or not.
Doesn't matter.
My sister actually brought me a mask. If you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen it as my picture. And it's actually got the Montreal Canadiens logo on the side of it.
He's the always mask-changing mask guy.
Well, not always. These are probably the only two masks I actually own that will fit me.
No comment.
Well,
But we should probably put our Twitter out again.
Yes, again.
Do final thoughts. This is the Jerry Springer Show.
And be good to one another.
Be good to one another. And don't mess with midgets.
Don't mess with midgets. So again, we just kind of, coming up with a couple of ideas of where we're going. We're
open for more.
I do know that part of the plan is that we're hoping to try to get a little bit more exposure. So by the time the local comic convention comes here to our hometown, which is
October,
and at the end of October, early November, for the Central Canadian Comic C4, we want to have kind of a better presence known by then. And who knows what we might actually pull up there. We might even be able to get like a soundbite from somebody.
It's possible. We'll definitely slip some dollar bills into someone's wallet.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if we go off and pay somebody for
an autograph,
and particularly if it's like a pro wrestler or something, maybe we could say, hey, can you just say you're listening to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guy show or something like that.
So look forward to that. We're going to try to weasel our way into that one.
And again,
probably security guards.
We're trying to get a couple of people to go off and trying to line up some guests. The big goal here is we want to try to stay a lot more focused than we have. I've noticed just listening to some of past podcasts and just the way I feel, it feels like we're sort of going at a frantic pace and trying to stuff as much stuff.
Which is why we're cutting it down in length. So we're coming up with scripts before we go so we know what we're talking about before we go into it.
And we've done that in the past, but it just feels like we've really tried to stuff a lot.
Yeah.
And particularly when we're trying to do YouTube. And YouTube is limiting us to 15 minutes an episode. And I think the only way we can actually get it to being longer than 15 minutes per video is if we actually paid into the service.
Yes, which we are poor.
And we are poor. So trying to go off and limited, so each video is less than